Hi guys, so today we are going to do word puzzle with me. I really recommend you guys to read 1 Samuel chapter 9 to 10 before you start this activity. So please pause your video and please read 1 Samuel chapter 9 to 10 before you do. Okay, I'm gonna assume that you guys have read. So let's start with a cross. It's here. It says, what did Samuel anoint Saul with? Do you guys remember what Samuel anointed Saul with? In chapter 10, first verse, it says, Then Samuel took a flask of olive oil and poured it on Saul's head and kissed him, saying, Has not the Lord anointed you ruler over his inheritance? So what was the thing? It was olive oil. So I'm gonna write oil here in verse 4. Oil. Alright. Question 5. I'm gonna cross this out. Okay, good. Question 5. Who told Samuel to anoint Saul? The first verse actually shows or gives us a hint who told Samuel to anoint Saul. Who was it, guys? That's right, it was God. That's right, I'm gonna write God here first. Yeah, so God told Samuel to anoint Saul. God told Samuel that Saul will be the king. Okay. Question 6. Where did Saul hide? Do you guys remember that Saul hid? Where was it? So in chapter 10, verse 21, I go to 21. 21 to 22, it says, So then he brought forward the tribes of Benjamin, clan by clan, and Matri's clan was taken. Finally, Saul's son of Kish was taken. But when they looked for him, he was not to be found. So they inquired further of the Lord, Has the man come here yet? And the Lord said, Yes, he has hidden himself among the supplices. So it says among the supplices, but actually in here, it's a baggage. So I'm gonna write baggage on question 6. Baggage. So Saul hid in the baggage. Maybe he's afraid, as you guys know from the sermon. So let's move on to question 7. What was the man of God called? Ooh, this is actually a little bit tricky, but if I see the word bank, it says place of honor, God, baggage, word, judge, taller, king, prophet, bread, donkey, kish, oil. So out of this word bank, I found that it's a prophet here. Yeah, so back in the days, we called the man of God as a prophet who speak in behalf of God. So it was called prophet. So I'm gonna write prophet on question 7. Prophet. Good. So I'm gonna cross that out again. Alright. Question 8. Samuel was this for the people of Israel. Who was Samuel, guys? What was the role of Samuel? Yes. Correct. He was a judge. So I'm gonna write judge. Oops. Judge. So he was judge for the people of Israel. So back in the days, judge was like similar to king, but it's more like who kind of look after or like have a big authority in decision that make for people of Israel. So judge was very important role, and Samuel was the last judge of Israel history. Okay, let's move on. What was Saul looking for? So if you guys remember, Saul was looking for something before he met Samuel. What was it? So if you go back to 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 3, I think. That's right. It says, "Now the donkeys belonging to Saul's father Kish were lost. And Kish said to his son Saul, 'Take one of your servants with you and go and look for the donkeys.'" So Saul was looking for lost donkeys. Correct. So I'm gonna write donkeys here. Donkeys. Donkeys. Alright. How is Saul different from anyone else? Do you guys remember this? Saul was different from everyone else. That was in verse 2. Kish had a son named Saul, as handsome young man as could be found anywhere in Israel, and he was a head taller than anyone else. So it seems like Saul was taller than anyone else or everyone else in Israel. So the answer is taller. So I'm gonna write taller. Taller. I wonder how tall he was. Okay, let's move on to down questions. So it says, where did Saul sit at the table? So if you guys remember, he was sitting on the table with people. Oops. And it was chapter 9, verse 22. So I'm going to move to 22. It says, "Then Samuel brought Saul and his servants into the hall and seated them at the head of those who were invited, about 30 in number." So it said head of those who were invited, but in here we call that place of honor. So I'm gonna write place of honor here. First one, place of honor. Boop. And the next one. Question 2. What did the people want? You guys should know this. Israel people want something, and they asked God about this. What was it? That's right. It was king. So they really wanted a king. Where should I write this? Okay, here I found 2. It says king. So please write K-I-N-G, king here. Alright, that was easy question. Question 3. Saul's father was thinking about him. Was thinking about him. What did he say? What did he say about Saul? So if you look at chapter 10, verse 2, it says, "They will say to you, 'The donkeys you set out to look for have been found, and now your father has stopped thinking about them and is now worried about you.'" Yes. So Saul's father actually worried about Saul. So I'm gonna write worried. Worried. That's right. Okay. Question 6. What were the men going to give Saul? Do you guys remember this? Saul got something from this man. It was in verse 4 actually. It says, "They will greet you and offer you 2 loaves of bread, which you will accept from them." So they were meant to give Saul a bread, 2 ropes of bread, not a bread. So I'm gonna write bread here. Ta-da! And the last question. What was Saul's father's name? Guys, remember this? That's right. So I'm gonna read verse 2. It says, Kish had a son named Saul. So, father's name was Kish. Dun, 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 dun. Yay! Did you all got right? So we finished this puzzle. Okay, good job, guys. Let's move on to the next activity. What we have to do is we have to find a path to go to the crown. So I want you to pause the video right now and do by yourself, and then look at how I did it. Okay, please pause the video. Okay, so I'm going to go with the blue. So like this. Ooh, it's wobbly. Oops. Then this way. Oops. Oop. Oops, sorry. Like this. And oops, oh, it's blocked. It's this way. And here we go. That was a long journey, right? I hope you guys will find this fun, and let's move on to the last activity. Alright, so we have the last activity here for today, and we have some questions. So let's answer these questions one by one. So first says, Samuel asked God what to do. How do we talk to God? How do you guys talk to God? When I see Samuel, I think there's 2 significant way that Samuel talked to God. The first thing is that he humbly asked God for guidance. He humbly asked God for guidance. And second thing is that he was genuine. So he genuinely asked God and seek God's will first. So these are 2 things that I observed from the story of Samuel. So he humbly asked God for guidance. So he said, God, what should I do? God, is this right or is this wrong? And he genuinely asked God and genuinely seek God's will first. Rather than relying on his own knowledge, he asked God and patiently waited until God gave him an answer. So there's 2 things that I observed. It can be different from your answer, so it's okay if it's different. And the next question, it says, does God let us make our own choices? Discuss. What do you guys think about this? You guys say, no, I don't think God is allowing us to make our own choices. And some of you guys might say, oh, I think God let us make our own choices. I think both of you are right. Sometimes God does letting us to make our own choices, and sometimes he doesn't. But in this case, story about Israel here, I think God did. So God let people to make their own choices. When people of Israel asked God to give a king, he gave them a king, even though he thought that's not a best option for them. So I think it's yes and no. Sometimes he does and sometimes doesn't. But then he always guided us. He always sent his people to tell and talk and communicate with his people. So I would say yes and no here. And then next, it says, the people wanted a king like everyone else. Write in the crown why it isn't always the right thing to want what everyone else has. I want you guys to pause the video if you haven't answered the question and write your answer before we discuss about this. So first thing I think the reason we shouldn't is that God has unique plan for each one of us. We can't be same to others. God has a unique plan for us. So I don't want you to guys like, God, I want something like that person. Because God already gave you another thing. If He haven't given you, maybe that's a perfect way for God. Okay, what else? Why isn't always the right thing to want what everyone else has? I think because sometimes, most of times, our decision is wrong. But God's decision is right. I think people of Israel, they couldn't trust God enough, or they really understand that God has unique plan for them, special plan for them. So sometimes we need to understand that our decision can be wrong and really seek God's will. So that's why I said Samuel did that great. So he genuinely asked God and see God's will first. And I will put this another answer place for you guys to fill in. And yeah, please discuss with your family, your friends, when you guys have a time to talk. Alright, so I think that's it for today. And I hope you guys enjoy the sermon and the Bible study. And I hope you guys have another great week. Bye! 함께 기도로 마무리해요. Let's finish our Bible study with prayer. 하나님 아버지, 지금까지 하나님이 아닌 다른 것들을 내 마음속에 왕으로 섬겼던 나의 모습들을 고백합니다. 이제 하나님만을 나의 왕으로 삼고 하나님을 의지하며 살기 원해요. 또한 하나님 앞에서 겸손해지게 하시고 하나님께서 선택하여 사용하실 수 있는 귀한 하나님의 사람으로 자라나게 해주세요. 예수님의 이름으로 기도합니다. 아멘.